Well, good afternoon. Hi, friends. Welcome to this latest version of the STLP Quick Shots. Today, we're going to focus in on a big topic that I get asked a lot of questions about frequently about how can I, as the STLP coach, find a great STLP judge. We all know that our STLP judges mean so much to us. So we're going to dive in. We're going to take a look at how we can make the most of the STLP judging experience, how we can find the right folks. Let me get my timer started. I'm going to go ahead, just like all other quick shots, we try to knock this out in 20 minutes or less. So I'm going to click start on my timer, and 20 minutes, here we go. So here's what we have to really be thinking about today. Again, I always get ahead of myself. Hi, my name's Jeff. I am the STLP, self-titled STLP Chief Enthusiast for the state of Kentucky, a digital learning coach for the Kentucky Department of Education. I'm super lucky because I get to help folks like you bring these opportunities for STLP to students all over the state. So thank you for being here with me. Here's what we're going to do in our next 20 minutes. We're going to hit these four main topics. That's it. What's the cost of admission to STLP events, the role of the STLP judge, who can be a judge, and tips for picking great STLP judges. We're going to keep it super simple. We're going to hit the high points, and hopefully you're going to walk out of here today with some information that's going to help making your judge selection a little bit smoother. So when I say the cost of admission, what do I mean by that? All of our STLP events are free. So how is there a cost for admission? Well, the cost of admission for competing in STLP, we have so many resources. You've looked at the website, you've seen the STLP super sheet, you've seen the rows upon rows upon rows of rubrics, activities, and resources that you can take advantage of. You can do all of that, use everything that we have out there free of charge, never come to a single STLP competition. Because if you've been in other presentations with me, then you know that my sort of point of view is that the competitions are smoke and mirrors. And what we're really doing is we're helping students learn through the use of technology, through the Kentucky Academic Standards for Technology, helping their school, helping their community, all the benefits that come out of STLP. And then we give out some trophies to some folks. So that's how I kind of look at it. But to pull off these events, we need judges. And what are those events? So you know that we have our STLP Big Three. As I said, if you want to use every resource we have without ever joining a competition, great. No problem. But if you want to get involved in some of the competition areas that we offer, then you know that we have our regionals, which has our STLP project cycle, the big projects that go from level I to level 1, 2, 3, and hopefully level 4 at the international level. DPOJ, which are digital product online judging. That J is judging, so judges are already built into that. And then all of our live challenges at STLP State, as well as those projects from regionals, those products from DPOJ, all end up at state. And we need folks to help us provide feedback and scores to students. So even though it's free, there's no membership cost for STLP. There's no attendance admission cost, except providing a volunteer judge to represent your school. Sounds pretty straightforward, sounds pretty easy, but there are some challenges behind it that we have to think about, and thinking about that in advance and planning for it is what we're going to focus on today. So as long as you know that if you're going to join any of our competition areas, there is an expectation that you're going to need to provide a judge, and you're going to need to identify that judge in the registration form weeks, months in advance of when you're actually going to be in the STLP competition. That's all something to keep in mind as you're planning out how your STLP group is going to participate. So what is the role of those STLP judges? So if we get them, they're helping us with an event, what are they actually going to be doing? Here's a couple of really great points. Number one, we provide training for all of the judges' roles. We're recording this in October of 2022 right now. So our next big event is our STLP regionals that you saw on the screen a minute ago. We'll have, close to 1,000 or more STLP project teams, all presenting an elevator pitch about an idea of a technology-rich project that they want to work on and continue to work on throughout the school year. And they come to regionals and present this elevator pitch about their project to our volunteer judges, hoping that they're going to advance on to the next stage, which would be level 2 and level 3 at the state championship in April. So those judges are listening to students give elevator pitches about their projects at regionals. If they can transition on and help us again at state with our level 2 projects, now they are listening to more finalized, fleshed out projects that have been going on for several months at the school level and hearing some things. But the beauty of it is, whether you are listening to students give elevator pitches, whether you are reviewing digital products like digital art, digital photography, from the comfort of your own home on a computer, all of that is guided by rubrics. So as an STLP judge, you can sign up, you can have someone that you identify and sign them up and submit their name to be a judge as well. And they don't have to be necessarily experts in the field that they're scoring. We provide you with the rubrics and the materials that you need, as well as training materials to prepare you for your time with students. It is a sort of a low-key preparation. It doesn't take a long time. Most of our judges have great experience talking with students, and so just helping them identify what they're looking for in those conversations with students is key. So the role of the judge is really just to be, in a lot of ways, a supported feedback provider, right? You are helping students, you're listening to their presentations, filtering it through the rubric that we provide, and then giving feedback to those students. In some cases, we're deciding whether the students move on to the next level of the competition, but in all cases, it is providing students with feedback that is specific, meaningful, and kind. These are the 3 key areas of all STLP judging endeavors. Yeah, we have rubrics and there are numbered score sheets, but in every judge training, you're going to hear me say the same thing. The scores are important to help us decipher who will move forward because it is a competition. But when the students get their scores back, that number comes and goes quickly, but what they latch onto is this specific, meaningful, and kind feedback that we provide, comments, review of what they've done, actual like words to let the students know what is helpful, what was great, what the judges loved, what they need to work on if they're still moving on to the next level of the competition. So these 3 words are everything: specific, meaningful, and kind. That is what the role of the STLP judge truly is. That feedback shows up in different ways. Here's one example. This is our level 1 project feedback from last year. You can see that it's a sort of a bright, colorful report that ended up back to the STLP coaches and then shared to the STLP students. It's pulled straight from the feedback that the judges provide. And if you think, well, I've scored this and I move on to the next thing, but here's the thing. I mentioned that it means something to students. They've poured their heart and soul into what they are presenting. They've overcome barriers, challenges, had to present to people in public possibly for the first time in their academic career. And so the feedback we give them is important. And here's an example of that. Like, here are kids that are proudly displaying the feedback they got from judges as part of the DPOJ competition. So all I can say is that the role of the judge is super important in the development of the student in a learning situation. Yes, we decide whether they move on to the next level of the competition, sure. But How we guide the students through this process, the learning, is so key, and that is what the role of the judge truly is. So who can be a judge? It's amazing how many questions I get, because a lot of folks seem to be surprised by this information, although this has been a stipulation for STLP judges for many, many years. We ask that judges are current or retired educators, or they could be an expert, a subject matter expert in the field that they might be helping us judge. Super straightforward. That's what we're looking for, current retired educators, because these are folks that have experience having conversations with students, understand how to communicate with students and how to listen to students, and then provide the feedback, that specific, meaningful, and kind feedback that will be helpful. What are some tips for picking a great judge? Well, here's an easy list. Number one, is the judge that you are asking to represent your school going to be available? And by available, I mean, are they going to be available on the date of the competition? Are they going to be available for taking a look at the judge training materials? And are they going to be available to make sure that the feedback gets finished? When I think of like a regional event, we've got a day where everyone comes together, students give their feedback, you're on a judge team with other people, all sort of sharing your feedback together for these project teams. And availability means, can this person stick around long enough to finish the job? So a lot of it is about accessibility and availability. Are they ready to do it, make the commitment? And so that's why communicating, a great tip is to communicate with the folks before you put your name down, put their name down in the registration as your judge. I can't tell you how many times we've reached out to our judges with instructions to have people email me back and say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't know I was going to be a judge. So making sure that folks know that you're submitting their name and that you have communicated with them and that they're available for the date of the competitions, all that is super important. The other thing that's really important is the demeanor with students. STLP judging is not for folks that want to eliminate students from the competition. If the mindset of the judge is, I am here to be hard, here's my rubric, I've got score sheets, red pens, I can't wait, I'm going to just absolutely turn the heat up on these kids, and I can't wait to watch them squirm, that's not the demeanor we're looking for. What we're looking for is someone who understands that students are learning, that as a judge, you're going to be talking with students from all over the state who are coming with the best of what they have for their experience at their school. So from one judge group that is a school that has a very long, rich, and deep tradition of learning and utilizing technology for instruction and student growth, versus one that is just now kind of getting STLP off the ground and figuring out what it means to have students utilize technology. Like, you're going to need to deal with all levels of students from all different walks of life, backgrounds, diversity. So we need judges who have the demeanor that they enjoy. I mean, really, if I went back and rewrote this slide, demeanor with students mean looking for folks that actually enjoy students. Does that make sense? I think it does. I'm trying to say it politely. We don't need grumpy people. It doesn't make the experience great for anybody. We need people that can give specific, meaningful, and kind feedback, who enjoy working with students. Technology expertise is not as important as you might think. Folks don't have to panic. You don't have to be an expert in the subject matter that students are going to provide. Once you look at the rubric that and I'm stuck talking about projects still, but part of their duty as presenting is to explain what their project is about. So in some cases, having tech background is not necessary at all. Now, for some of our judging areas, that's like the state championship, like for example, our bench challenge or our coding challenge, being a judge for those, sure, it'd be really important that you have some background in that specific competition area. But for others, honestly, the rubrics will get you through most of it. Now, servant leadership versus this being a requirement. Ideally, the judge is someone who, like I said, enjoys students, but also looks forward to this opportunity to help students be successful. Successful doesn't mean that everybody makes it on to the next level of the competition. Unfortunately, that's what competition is about. But understanding that they are there to help and lead students and give them what they need to be successful versus the requirement phase of, well, we have to provide a judge or we can't do this. And just picking someone because it's all that you got left, that's not a great solution. And ends up, if I'm quite honest with you, a judge can be the greatest strength of an STLP competition, or a single judge can truly wreck the mood of an entire event and bring things down if they don't have the right mindset coming into it. So that's really challenging, which is why it comes back around to that availability. I'm going to pop back up to that one for a second. Knowing that most of these competitions happen during the school day means that if you pick a judge that needs a sub, you have to think about that. They're going to be away from students for a while. You can't do the projects and also teach class. Even though it's remote this year for regionals in 2022, and students will be presenting from their home school to judges, the judges still need to be able to focus and listen and hear. So availability, ideally, that's where you can step up and look for folks maybe outside of the classroom. As far as availability goes, think about district technology personnel, digital learning coaches for the district, maybe the library media specialist, maybe your administrator, ask a principal, ask an assistant principal, a counselor, folks that maybe don't have classroom responsibilities for the time being of, say, projects during regionals. Great. State championship is an all-day event, so they're going to need to be out of the building physically in person in Lexington from in the morning until the afternoon. So that's sort of availability. But let me give you a special, oh my goodness, this is why people love that category of DPOJ, the digital product online judging. Those judges can judge in their free time from home, after school, during planning period. It will not take out of class time to do DPOJ. So that's great. And that brings me to one more bullet points I wish I had put in here. Can you, the STLP coach, be the judge? Now, conventional wisdom would say, listen, if I'm new to STLP, I probably should be a judge because that way I can really get a feel for what happens behind the scene, what judges are looking for. How can I help my students next time be better prepared? But think about that availability factor. That's why it's number one on this bullet list. Availability is everything. You also have to be available to your students who might be presenting. So for regionals this year, since it's online, an STLP coach theoretically could be the judge for their school, but who is going to support your students while they are getting ready to log on and present to judges as part of regionals? So think about that. Regionals, maybe that's a tough one. For the DPOJ category, that absolutely 100% can be you. If you don't want to go out and try and find someone else and cash in some goodwill that's been deposited to ask them to be a judge and you want to take on that responsibility, perfect, go for it for DPOJ. Now for state, a lot tougher. Who's escorting your students? Who's with your students? Who's chaperoning your students throughout the day and supporting them as they are setting up for their presentation, doing their competitions? So state, you probably would need to look for someone who is not you necessarily, that could be there to help support you. And the big question that we get, why can't parents be the judge? There's nothing that says that they can't be a judge if they happen to be a subject matter expert. What happens is it would probably be better if you are bringing parents to help support you at an in-person event, for example, like state championship. If you could flip the role, can those parents act as the chaperone while perhaps you do the judging? So think about it that way. My last point here is, for great tips for finding a judge, is find someone that understands the why of STLP. Why are we doing it? Anyone who will dig into STLP for any period of time knows that it is not about the trophy. It's about students exploring passions. It's about a deeper learning dive into how technology can support instruction, learning, challenges, and growth in students, in their peers, in their school, in their community. The why of STLP is this. It's the kids. It's their experience. It's their growth. That's what it's about. It's not about numbers. It's not about score sheets. It's about supporting students who are exploring new ways to demonstrate what they know and what they can do. And if you can find a judge that can do that and be available when the time comes, then you're hitting a home run. All right, that's our 20 minutes. I said I was going to hold it to 20 minutes. If you have additional questions, please reach out to me. There's my Twitter handle. There's my email address. This video is being recorded, so we will post it on our STLP YouTube page that you can access from the Quick Shot page. Thanks for being with us today. And for all the folks, look at the attendance numbers. I'm pretty happy to see this many folks on here. Hopefully this is a resource that's going to answer some questions for you. Appreciate you being with us today. Thanks a lot.